Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Distraction and Discussion. This week we are brought to you by, as usual, me, your host Alex, and your regular host Scott returns.
Hello.
And then there's always
Welcome
Dalton.
back.
He's always here.
Hi. Sometimes. Whoa. Judgment.
We are here, the Three Musketeers, to break down the week's news, to tell you what's made us mad, what we found interesting, and, make fun of it and all that stuff, and have a good time while we do it. So, as you may have noticed by the title of our stream today, we are on a new platform. We have officially moved to doing YouTube and Twitch at once. Congratulations, us. Yay. All right. So... what's on deck today, guys? I know we've got some things that we want to discuss. Nothing too planned out. We have a few video clips, but I think we all have a little something we all want to discuss today. Scott, you have something?
I do. I want to talk about some local politics where the Republicans are trying to push out the Democratic mayor. And I also want to discuss the differences between American police and European.
Ooh, that's going to be fun. I'm going to like that one, personally. And we have something from our good friend Dalton here as well.
Yeah, I've just been enamored by this Ron DeSantis guy, and I don't know. He's brilliant. He's a shining gem of Republican politics that just made me laugh.
Oh, he shines.
And so I wanted to talk about it for a little bit, and I don't know, maybe piss you guys off a little bit.
All right. Well, that sounds like a full load of crap. So who wants to go first with all this jazz? I know we had some technical difficulties getting started. Did you want to start with yours, Dalton, or did you want to still wait?
I don't care. Flip a coin. Fight me.
Fight me.
What do we do?
Actually, let's start small. Give me the local news here, Scott. Give me the local news.
There we go. That's a good idea.
All right. So in the state Republican Party, they have started a petition.
Which state?
To enact in Nebraska.
Thank you.
Here in Lincoln, Nebraska. They have started to petition to limit the amount of terms a mayor can serve. Right now, it's unlimited. As long as the people keep voting them in, then they're in. So they're wanting to end it at 3 terms, which just happens to be what Mayor Beitler is currently finishing as a 3-term.
Oh, that would be convenient.
Yeah, that seems just well timed. I mean, if you really want to just get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that vote has some meaning behind it. It's not very well veiled, Maybe.
Yeah. Before we move on, where all do we stand on term limits?
I'm generally for term limits.
As am I.
I think it depends on the power of the office.
That probably has a lot to do with it. I'm generally in favor of term limits as well, but maybe with power, that's more. The cap probably must be there.
As a rule, I'm against for life limits, like the Supreme Court.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe they should have a longer than average limit, but for life, I don't know. I'm not squaring that.
Lifetime appointment is not, I think, beneficial.
Should be discussed a little bit more, considering how much weight it's given and how one president was recently screwed out of said nomination.
Right.
Might be an important thing to bring up a little bit more often than whatever's on Twitter. I don't know. Thanks, Trump.
So that sounds very clearly that that they're trying to remove a constituent without a vote.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, the actual city election would have it on the ballot, so it would still be voted on by the people. But still, they're expecting people to vote. Because you know how much of a red state this is.
Yeah. And for anybody else listening, it's it's one of the redder ones.
The redder ones, the more red, the blood red.
Where most of the population is, it's pretty blue, but everywhere else is red.
Which appears to be the case in most places,
It's a
but
very rural Midwest state. It's kind of, it votes along the way everybody else does around here for a lot of the ways. But
well, and see, that's where you really get that's where you get how red the state is how you can really determine how red a state is by how much rural area there is. And that's just the fact of the Electoral College, and they've made certain that's the case. You know,
but to be fair, that's why Bernie and AOC were down here in Kansas, right? Weren't they in Kansas just the other day? They're trying to, you know, flip progressives from these red states.
I think that's probably true. Actually, I don't remember.
Base maybe really is what they're trying to say.
I wish we could amend the at least amend, if not remove, the electoral system, but what do I know?
We have a really outdated system, like shambled together, and we just call it like the best that there ever was.
Yeah, I'm finding that to be more and more true. Every time someone says that America is the best at anything, I'm just like, did you provide me with any evidence for that truth claim? But then we'd be talking about burden of proof, and that's, you know,
America is the best at one thing.
I don't know. That's just intellectually honest to observe the proof. And what is that, Scott?
Mass shooting.
Oh,
mass shooting.
We're the best at
and
that.
Incarceration.
Yay. Yeah.
Number one at putting people in prison.
And military budget.
Yay, drug war. And military budget. Yeah, we have to be number one there, I guess.
I'm having kind of like a PTSD moment, because all I'm seeing is what we're doing right now, this describing these things that we don't think are so good about America are and happen to be good things, sound exactly like the way everybody's been describing Medicare for All or the progressive platform on conservative punditry and conservative news stations. They go, well, they just want to take everybody go to college if they want. We just want to guarantee that everybody lives. What do these assholes want? They just want to hurt you with all this Medicare for All. You know.
Yeah. Medicare for All equals Venezuela.
Oh no, I don't go into bankruptcy if I get cancer?
And see that what we're doing there is like they would describe all these things that we're saying as awful, and we would look at it and go, okay, that's what we want. That's exactly that's what we think is good, and what we're describing. We're
gonna stop giving tax cuts to the rich and pay for this instead, because it's a better use of our fucking money, and we voted you in. So
right, but don't you see how the perception is flipped though? Like if you were looking on what we were saying about, and the military budget's number one, they would go, oh, good. Yeah. Yes, good. Whereas we're going, this is awful. They're going, Medicare for All is terrible.
We could cut it in half and still be the highest military budget. I mean,
I'm pretty sure the Democrats just cited and unanimously pushed in like another $750 billion military budget expanse.
Pretty
sure
there was.
I didn't come prepared for that one, but I heard that.
No, I know. I don't know the exact.
That's what we did before.
I don't know the exact figure, but I do know that essentially what the funny comparison that I've heard was that the Democrats helped the Republicans vote in Russia's budget on top of ours, because we added exactly what Russia spends every year.
$717 billion.
$750 billion. That's pretty close for talking out of my ass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
pretty damn close.
And well, that's
insane, right? How do we just
billion off,
no didn't touch the news, no second guess, just no military blank check. Here you go.
Yeah.
Why don't we have an anti-war party?
There was actually one Republican that voted against it because it was, my constituents don't agree with war. and it was pretty amazing. And there's
I
one
bet a
Republican.
lot of Republican constituents don't agree with how much war we're in,
Yeah, but
and
one,
would at least want less war.
but
Maybe
one
not
Republican
no
actually
war, but
voted against it because his constituents were against it. He actually seemed to be considering what his constituents were, and then all the Democrats almost unanimously
Rare.
voted for giving more money to the budget. They almost unanimously voted for giving the NSA more powers. They almost unanimously voted for renewing the Patriot Act. I mean, this is representation at its finest here, people. Everybody outside of the United States, hopefully we have some international viewers. Save yourself. We're coming for you, and I'm
this
sorry.
machine that it funds itself, we don't really have control. We're just like being bucked off of it and being loud.
Yeah. So I'm wondering how, well, I'm actually know how, but considering that the mayor in Lincoln is Democratic, I mean, it's a population center, if you can call that a population center in Nebraska. It would stand to reason that we would vote in a Democratic mayor. I mean, that seems to be the trend across the board.
It's likely.
Yes. And how long? You said he's done 3 terms?
Yes.
Okay.
He has been serving since 2007.
On one hand, I want term limits. On the other hand, I'm like, this is clearly just
Yeah,
dishonest.
I think 3 terms is. I'm comfortable with 3 terms. I wouldn't want it to go another 4 for anybody. Even if I agreed with this guy, I wouldn't want Bernie Sanders for, 12 to 16. I think like you got to step aside.
Yeah, probably not.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot, and that's a lot of power to give one individual, as far as I'm concerned.
People change over time. Money can be influenced over time.
Well, I mean, think about how you were 5 years ago.
Wanting to right now.
Think about how you were 5 years ago. I mean, 5 years can change people's personality quite a bit. Imagine what 8 or 16 would.
But you figure they did vote him in 3 times. They're apparently okay with what how he's been doing.
The same thing could be said about FDR.
The best president we ever had ran
Auto gets in the next time
and died.
Yeah, I was gonna say FDR is the example I was bringing up. This almost feels like there's a grandfather clause that should be observed. Like, if you're gonna enable term limits, you should do it. Like, you should put the term limit on the book. Like now, like if you wanted to set it to 3 for this mayor, okay, fine, but he can't be removed for a term limit. Like, if he keeps getting voted in, fine, but when he's done, he's done. Like, if he gets voted out, all right, you've reached your term limit. I think that would be a fair way of instituting the law, personally.
I don't understand. You're gonna let him keep going?
Yeah, because I would grandfather him in because he's already in office, personally. Because you would do the same.
You would do the same on him.
You would do the same for FDR, probably. If you enacted a term limit at 2 in his 3rd term limit, would you let him run for a 4th?
No. Not if the term
even
limit's
if
2.
Even if he wins, and he's been there, and his initial contract was for unlimited reruns.
Well, hopefully he expanded his party and raised up his people to take his place, because
I'd say that's probably
we got rid of a monarchy for a reason. I don't know. I'm okay with cutting it down to just 8 years max for every office, honestly. We have a population big enough to handle this many office seats.
And then we got Truman.
Old Truman.
And we immediately nuked 2 countries.
Rip.
Speaking of nuking 2 countries, I did want to do a this day in history. Today in 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait. Actually, I bet there's more. More of these.
And that's what led to Desert Storm, yeah.
I believe so, actually. Yes, absolutely. That was what led to Desert Shield. And then Operation Desert Storm followed later.
War is
because
based on honesty.
and oil.
Oil. Oh yeah, mostly oil.
Yeah, that one appears to be based on oil. All right.
Damn.
Having a hard time reloading.
I think I'm still a little bit confused by how does Trump think we need ID for groceries? Is this a real thing?
I need to find that. I need to find
He's
that
opening
clip.
the door for voter suppression, is what he's doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Wait,
well, because
what?
he's not offering a national
voter
ID.
suppression.
Yeah, you got to have ID to buy groceries. You got to have an ID to vote.
He's thinking of the loyalty card as an ID card. Like,
Well, no, he's thinking that
I mean-
you're not going to be able to buy groceries. You know.
he just doesn't even know how it works.
Well, when was the last time you think Trump shopped for himself?
Never eats fucking what KFC every day.
Is
It's
this more
McDonald's.
evidence
It's,
being piled up toward the
Is it McDonald's?
dementia
It's McDonald's.
out?
Yeah, he has
I
McDonald's
think
every day.
He's gonna claim mental illness on dementia and leave office and just give it to Mike Pence, and then he'll have like a cult
That would be
following
much
behind him
better.
God, I was just sitting here
instead
thinking
of being
that's
impeached
terrible.
and leaving same.
God,
And then Mike Pence will step down and it'll go to Mitch McConnell.
But Mike Pence isn't going to step down.
Mike Pence won't step down.
I don't think he'd step down.
Mike Pence will not step down.
Let me see here.
Mitch McConnell wants to run the world.
With his little turtle face.
I feel like Mike Pence will
Pulling
create
the
like
strings
a
behind
new
this.
secret service, like just for his fascist unions. I don't know.
Let's see here.
I don't know. Mike Pence is nuts. I wouldn't trust him with anything.
Oh no.
We're in trouble, boys. We're in trouble. This country in trouble. Hot trouble.
2 more years till the next election.
We should all be concerned.
Yeah.
I love how some people on our side are thinking that he's not going to make it through his entire term. I'm like, are you really?
If he was going to be removed, he would have been removed by now.
That's where I'm at, especially
I don't even
with
think it's
Russia.
necessarily a good
Like,
idea to remove
if you
him.
haven't evicted him with Russia, you're not going to.
I just don't think it's a good idea to remove him at this point because it's going to set a precedent of just, oh, we don't like this person, get him out. Of course, at this
How much
point,
damage can he do?
well, dude, I'm worried
And-
that at this point, because of how loud he is and how mobilized he's made his movement, that we actually will get the next Democratic president impeached. Just like that,
What
because we don't
precedent
like
do we
him.
set if we don't impeach this type of person? That's okay? That's still expected? That's round 2? We're going to get more people like him?
Well, that's exactly what the Democrats want. I mean, that's why we're not allowed to examine the system. We're supposed to yell at Trump. Trump is not the reason for Trump. Trump is the system, or is the symptom of the system. And we're only gonna get if we get a Democrat that's not a crazy left winger, we're gonna get a left wing. We're gonna get a blue dog Democrat as president because that's what they want. By being so centrist, they've moved so far to the center that the center is so far right now that to be on the left is way the fuck out in the East Dodge. So let me play this clip for everybody so they know what we're talking about here. It looks like the clip is about 56 seconds long. Let's go ahead.
I have more to add to that later.
Yeah,
But play the clip.
keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and play the clip
No,
here.
I'll come back. You're good. I got notes.
Okay, I'm gonna actually make this a little bigger. Hashtag setup stream. Here that's not centered, and that's gonna OCD the hell out of me. Okay.
Good
right.
enough.
I believe that only American citizens should vote in American elections.
I can't.
Can you hear it, Scott?
I have to hear it through the stream.
Oh, hold on. I have a setting that's probably off. Make sure.
We believe that only American citizens should vote.
Whoop. Sorry, guys. Hashtag
Soon
setup stream here. Kind of a running.
Soon I will have more equipment to make this easier on you. Thank you.
That's all right, man. I appreciate everybody's effort. Okay, you guys should be able to hear it now, not through stream, so you might want to turn off that there. Thank you. Hashtag setup stream.
We believe that only American citizens should vote in American elections.
Teeth are slipping again.
Which is why the time has come for voter ID, like everything else. Voter ID. You know, if you go out and you want to buy groceries, you need a picture on a card. You need ID. You go out and you want to buy anything, you need ID and you need your picture. In this country, the only time you don't need it, in many cases, is when you want to vote for a president, when you want to vote for a senator, when you want to vote for a governor or a congressman. It's crazy. We believe that only American citizens...
Yeah, so that's the clip that we were referencing. Apparently, you need...
Yeah, I'm with you.
Apparently, it's more vital you have a an ID for milk
There are some
than
stores
it is for voting.
like Sam's Club. You have to have a picture on your little Sam's card.
This is seriously a repeat of
But it's
the
a club.
1930s in Germany.
Yeah, he's for voter ID. What? That sounds exactly like a citizen card. Yeah.
Well, I'm not exactly against like a.
What else is it?
Like a government issued ID. You know, a federally issued ID. I don't see any reason why they can't provide that for us. Exactly. That's the same thing. I mean, it kind of is.
We already have everything we need to identify ourselves in this country.
Well, the idea is that like
there's not a problem with voter ID fraud.
Well, there's a lot of problem with people not having like driver's licenses, especially in our generation. There's quite a few people in our generation that can't afford cars, so why have a license? And therefore, because you need to show an ID, you have to show a certain form of ID. That makes it very hard for you to participate in the electoral system, even as a citizen. Like, I'm all for. I don't see
there's
any
not
reason
enough
why
voter fraud to even worry about requiring an ID to vote.
That's what I'm saying, is that we haven't shown that there's a reason that this is a huge concern. But evidence and proof don't work on the right wing, so I'm not going to use that as talking point. It's just not. This is not an effective way of doing anything.
The GOP is always talking about getting rid of like extra programs and like cutting down extraneous spending and stuff. This is a waste of time and money and waste of thought. All you people that are like getting excited about finally stopping voter fraud, that there isn't any. I mean, there's so little voter fraud, it's not even worth wasting our time on.
I mean,
it's good to keep a lookout for it. If it becomes a problem, maybe we can consider something like this, but we're just harassing people and making sure that the GOP gets in. That's what's going on.
Well,
once we start restricting the voter with IDs, Democrats don't win as often.
Well, I even had somebody tell me that California lets illegal immigrants vote in their elections, and I was
like, vote for us.
Did you hear me?
Sorry.
All right. I even had somebody tell me that California lets illegal immigrants vote in their elections, and I was like, I just don't. I can't imagine that being somebody's policy.
That is an assertion, not an argument. Provide some evidence, we'll talk. But,
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. These elections are pretty important. We look at them fairly closely. It might not be perfect. It definitely isn't. We could definitely fix the electoral college probably before voter ID. That's my vote.
Yeah, that's actually probably true.
Let's start there.
At the very least, I would want that to be reformed. All right.
If we're actually going to help people. I don't know. Just a thought.
Do we want to move on to the latest creepy Republican ad?
Oh, yeah. This guy's so fucking weird.
You want to set it up, or do you want me to just set it up with the video?
Yeah, I can set it up a little bit. Okay, so there's a governor race in Florida, to be the governor of Florida. Exciting. But there's 8 Republicans running, I believe. Last I checked, that might have changed. Things are rapid there.
Sure.
But this guy is getting news. This guy is supported by Trump, so he's getting the popularity wave train that, Trumpism is. And so people are kind of propping this guy up to win the race. And he has this really creepy ad where he just flaunts it. I don't know. TYT had some things to say. I think I have some different things to say. And I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
You'll probably have some interesting things to say. It's weird. Just I don't know. Maybe we should just play it and talk.
Yeah, let me play
That's
the
probably
ad.
enough intro at most.
Scott, have you seen this? I can't remember.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
All right, so I'm not gonna play TYT's commentary, but I will play their showing of the ad here. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Just take a look.
Everyone knows my husband, Ron DeSantis, is endorsed by President Trump, but he's also an amazing dad. Ron loves playing with the kids.
Build the wall.
He reads stories.
Then Mr. Trump said, "You're fired." I love that part.
He's teaching Madison to talk.
Make America great again.
People say Ron's all Trump, but he is so much more.
Big league. So good.
I just thought you should know.
Creepy.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Pretty awesome.
I'll let Scott start if he wants to.
Oh, I have no comment on this.
No comment?
No
I
comment.
mean,
This is awful.
there was a lot of substance. You know what you're voting for, right? When you vote for this guy,
You're voting.
you learn a lot about him through his ad promoting himself.
Yeah, he told me a lot about his policies. He's just essentially one of the average cucks. He's a beta male. It's essentially all that I got from that ad was that he's a huge little beta male.
I won't argue that one. Yeah, not my place to argue that one.
Well, it's just, I mean, it's kind of adorable. I mean, the only thing that I could see that he could have done to improve that ad is finish it with his mouth open. You know, with,
Yeah,
with, you
it
know,
was-
like with
it was
like
very much
you know,
the-
cock ahead. You know.
Yeah, it was gross. It was gross ass kissing. Yeah.
If someone came out and did that for
to give
Bernie
it kind of
Sanders,
a-
I would completely like. If someone did that for Bernie Sanders and just sucked him off in an ad, who here would be listening to that? Nobody. Like, that's absolute nonsense. Like, why don't you? I don't understand how we can't escape the autonomy of this dear leader, alpha male, beta male relationship.
Well, I wanted to point out, or I kind of wanted to bring this up as evidence for what you brought up earlier about how, the left is moving more to a centrist right, where the right used to be 15, 20 years ago, essentially
Correct.
position.
That's seems to be obvious.
And then the right is moving further and further to try and differentiate themselves because they cannot agree with those, on the left. Hell no, not ever.
Well, we're not worth dealing with is the thing, that compromise is not in their platform like it is for the Democrats.
Wait, what?
Well, I'm saying that I said that they don't even pretend to say compromise with their constituents, whereas all the Democrats do is say center, compromise, moderate, all these platitudes to say I'm not a right winger, but I support right wing everything.
That's why we need a third party.
Yeah, we do need a third party for sure. And there is kind of a point here. Like, if the right is moving so far to the right, where does a moderate conservative, reasonable-ish dad type person end up?
Well,
They end up just voting Republican generally. I haven't seen evidence that they've flopped to the Democrats or flipped to the Democrats really at all.
mhm.
They still kind of vote party lines most of the time. I think they just are a little disgruntled and not being heard very much right now, as their party's being controlled by more extremist people on the right and, fascists.
Some might say it's been hijacked. I'd say it's been there all the time.
Yeah. Well, there's kind of a point. I mean, this governor race, has eight nominees for the Republican side, like 8 people. And you remember, like, the 2016 race, we had 8. I mean, there's a lot of people that seem to qualify for these positions, and then when they get in these positions, they seem to just dismantle shit. It's so cookie cutter that's why this kind of has to exist. Like, the Republican side. Like, I was looking at, I watched a Fox News thing that you don't want to watch. We probably don't want to play. But his main
God.
guy, the person who has the most money essentially running against him, is this guy named Adam Putnam.
I feel like
So
I've heard
you
that
wanna
name.
Yeah, you might have. He's a terrible person. He's a self-described NRA sellout, and he's received the
What?
most money in the race against him.
What does that mean? As NRA sellout? Like
Some Democrat called him that for, essentially just he has like A plus, like S plus rating with the NRA, does every vote he's ever possibly done to help them out, he has done. So he got called a sellout, and then on Twitter he responded with, "Yeah, I'll take that name. I'm an NRA sellout." It was essentially all he said. So he's self-described NRA sellout. That's how he likes to and
that's nice. I
really,
that really speaks to me.
That's his way of pushing out, okay, and to keep this in mind as we're trying to be more anti-gun legislation, or what am I trying to say? Jeez. They're trying to be suckle the NRA just as much as Trump right now to get ahead.
Oh, that brings up.
You gotta push so far to the right. This is nuts. Like, everybody has an A plus rating with the NRA. Like, everybody to be a Republican. Like, if you're voting against a gun law and you're still a Republican, what? No. Everyone is voting the same way on everything.
Okay.
I went through. We could go through. Every one of his policies, you can just guess. What does the right wing do? That's where he's at, and they're just trying to be as far right wing as they can. They're racing each other.
Well, yeah, because they're given such license at this point. They're trying to see how far they can take it.
Yeah.
Okay, that brought up something I wasn't planning on talking about, but I should have planned on talking about it. Have you guys heard of the 3D printer guns thing that's going on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a individual citizen of the United States of America that was distributing 3D printer schematics, downloadable files, for people to create these non-serialized, non-traceable, absolutely unique to each individual owner weapon. And this was stopped. I don't remember who the original. I want to say it was Google that might have taken shit down or tried to remove things. I don't remember exactly that side of it, because that was actually a little bit ago.
It was bad.
But recently, it had been approved to be released. And I believe some judge had said that go ahead, have at it. There's no reason not to do this. And then another judge,
it's a gun.
and then another judge in another circuit actually postponed it and said, "Hey, this needs to go back into circuit," and things like that. And either shortly before or shortly after that happened, the owner released it anyways. So it's out there. It was out there originally anyways, but now it's out there en masse. it had already been downloaded thousands of times before the original case had gone. So I mean, the potential for it to be re-leaked was inevitable. However, it's just another thing. Like, oh, okay, and because of all this crap, like even over the last weekend, I totally forgot this happened. This happened last week. I mean,
there's so much fucked up shit happening.
Well, we're not going to talk about not going to talk about this again until the next school shooting.
Yeah. No, this is Florida that I'm talking about right now, that we're trying to get ahead. This is where Parkland was, that we're trying to out NRA each other to be the governor of the Parkland state.
What's bothering me more than them actually running on this platform, though, Dalton, and you guys, I want your opinion on this. Why is that argument you made with me that Parkland is we're here near Parkland, and this is clearly proximity atrocities happening? This is where why is this selling?
Are an apparent issue.
Yeah, but why would they run on this if it wasn't selling?
For some new legislation.
Why would they run on this if it wasn't selling, though? Thoughts, Scott?
Democrats are going to come take your gun.
The party is that far right that the NRA is more important than anything else. But there's not. I don't know what shock value you can get to overturn the NRA at this point. Like, what could happen? It would change people's minds on their viewpoint on the NRA, or at this point, like, I don't know. That might be changing topics. I don't want to change topics, but like, yeah, people are so solidified. That's what did I say? The symptom of the one uniting symptom of fascism was blind loyalty to the state.
There was actually they did a pretty good
nationalism. There's a bunch of other stuff that's very similar to Trump, but blind loyalty.
Some More News is doing they do like a weekly expose on a topic, and right now they're doing a series on Trump's fascism, and it's pretty incredible. Like, I might, you know what, I'm gonna pull that up and play a
the alt-right doesn't want you to use that word, because the alt-right is fascist. You know, the Nazis were fascist. You know, there's a lot of terrible things that happen under fascism, like they want to claim happens under socialism, but you know.
You know what? Okay, I am gonna change topics a little bit.
There's some scary similarities.
I'm gonna change topics.
Am I making the same claim?
No, not because of what you said, but because I just had a thought that if I play this, it's gonna look like I'm playing just someone else's punditry, and all I'm living in is my bubble. Like, all I have is this liberal bubble that I'm in, and I wanna push back on that idea, simply because if you live in reality, I'm not actually in a bubble. Like, this is the argument that I want to say that CNN made real popular back in the 90s or 80s or something like that, where they had a corporate wide policy of always giving equal time to both sides of the argument, whether the argument had legitimacy or not. If you don't have a legitimate argument, I'm not going to come into your bubble. So yeah, the argument that I am in a bubble has...
How much legitimacy do you want to give to QAnon?
Well, that's what I'm saying is, like, I don't gain any legitimacy from the right wing by being a subscriber to Fox News. Even if I try to step out of my bubble, it's fuck you, liberal. I still get accused of staying in my liberal bubble. Like, I don't hear facts or other people's news, even though I read the Daily Caller every now and again just to get a good laugh. I am forced down my Fox News is forced down my throat in my household sometimes, or at least it used to be. And
I listen to Fox News. I try and like either watch and listen and not listen, or listen and not watch. I can't do both. Something about watching and listening to Fox News. Can't do it.
You know what? I will say, though, every time we bring on Tucker Carlson, I love watching him interview people. I love watching him. He has some
charisma. I'll give him some charisma. I usually hate everything he does, but he does have charisma.
It's not even the charisma. It's the listening face that he makes. It's the listening face.
Dopey, isn't it?
Because no, it's this. I'm gonna see if I can do a good impression of it. It's this.
Yeah, that's pretty dopey. That's like, wait, is that English? Is that?
He's such an interesting. I mean, and someone's
Is he
Twitter.
talking to me? Or is he talking to everybody around me and just looking at me?
Someone's Twitter handle the other day I saw was Cucker Tarlson, and I was like, oh, you bastard. That's amazing.
Oh, that's good.
That's so good.
It's like one of those that, how did I not think of that?
I know.
Perfect.
All right, just for giggles here, let me play this because we're talking about fascism here. And
previously on some more news.
Here
was some
stop
news.
talking.
President Donald Trump is a fascist, and his movement.
You're totally getting ahead of me there, Cody.
But you're right. But wait.
He's totally getting ahead of me. I don't have him on screen. There we go.
What is going on?
So this guy is one of my.
Fascism is unique to its.
This is funny for me because he's right and crazy left wing. So it's pretty awesome. Let me make this a little bit bigger because there's actually some things on the screen that you guys might be interested in seeing. Actually, that's too big. And tell me to stop and back it up if you want here, because he's gonna everything that he says, he's gonna support with facts on the screen, and it's gonna get really thick really fast, guys. Okay.
I don't know if I'm ready for this.
You're probably not, and this may not be a good idea, but we're gonna have fun with it anyways, because this is my straight.
What's going on? Hype this up a little bit. I don't know what's happening.
This is a breakdown.
Also,
this is a breakdown of examples.
That was not Scott.
This is gonna be breakdowns of examples of they're trying to expose Trump as a fascist in every sense of the word. So this might be a good jumping point for us. So here we go. And this is also a part. This is also the reason why I'm playing this. The reason why I'm playing this is this is a part 2 of at least a 2-part expose that's been released. I think there's probably a part 3 coming at least. But the reason why I'm playing this is because he's going to wrap up everything that he did in the last video real quick. And it's going to be pretty dense. Let's go.
Previously on some more news. Here was some news. President Donald Trump is a fascist, and his movement is a fascist movement. And fascism is unique to its nation and leader, using...
Okay, so you see he's got quotes on the screen here.
Yes, I'm not...
We have, like the one on the right says, have to be as familiar and reassuring to loyal Americans as the language and symbols of the original fascism were familiar and reassuring to many Italians and Germans. And then it's quoting Anatomy of Fascism by Robert Paxton. Okay.
Comforting and familiar imagery, and it's a reactionary movement against the left, a traditionalist rejection of feminism and socialism marked by scapegoating brought on by a fear of difference, palingenetic ultranationalist chauvinism, disagreement being treason, popular elitism, contempt for the weak, the enemy being both strong and weak, everybody being educated to become a hero, and
that one a point. Okay, that was a good point back there. The enemy being both strong and weak.
Yeah, the right does that all the time. It makes really no sense. You're supposed to always be afraid of like the other, the Middle East, the people trying to climb over walls to get you, you know, but at the same time, they're like not worth even considering ever giving a living wage or any decency or, you know, schooling. Why? You know, just kick them back out.
Absolutely.
What?
And it's this dichotomy where they use it where it's necessary. That mean the age that we live in is not the age of the fact. I mean, that's very clear. It's because
it's more of an emotional argument than a logical one.
Yeah, and I've actually I've had someone pose the argument to me that what the right views as the word facts has changed, and all that facts truly mean are what's useful. Is it useful?
Okay, then.
So
Jesus, we need translators.
No, that's just
if they want to come to the table with things like that, we need translators.
No, it's just actually intellectually dishonest, and I don't think translation. I don't think translation is going to be enough to bridge that gap. I think it's just
that's true.
It's an incredible gap. All right, let's continue here.
Chauvinism, disagreement being treason, popular elitism, contempt for the weak, the enemy being both strong and weak, everybody being educated to become a hero, an obsession with a plot, machismo and weaponry, permanent warfare, and many other things which we'll get into today. And fascism doesn't just...
So that's a small little dissection there.
Yeah. Yeah, we are fascism all over the place. Like every chance we can get, we opt for fascism generally. Anytime we unanimously vote for something, fascism.
I'm just shocked at seeing how many beta males are claiming strength, though. It's just incredible how often they're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we're the strongest party in the world, but we have to ask the dear leader if we can wipe his boots.
You're running on a campaign of Trump said nice things about me, and I vote 100% whatever Trump says I should do. That's pretty much what I was reading across the board, right and left.
I mean, it sounded to me like a get in line message.
Fox painted him with demeanor, but it was the same thing. So, talk over you.
It just felt like, you know, he's just getting in line, you know. I'm not seeing the right wing running away from Trump like some people had suspected.
No, and if you don't impeach him,
I don't know that that's
2020,
gonna. I don't.
2020, baby. Trump 2020.
I don't know that impeachment is gonna be either a thing or useful.
Well, I
'Cause
think
I don't know that
impeachment
we're
would
ever
stop
gonna know.
2020 for sure, and give us maybe a more for sure Democrat in 2020. That would show we have some strength, right? If we can impeach a Trump. Makes us look weak if we can't even impeach Trump.
I don't know if we're trying to keep up the image of not being weak.
Yeah, that's flown out the window a while ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, Democrats, no.
I don't know,
Progressives.
even if impeachment was
have a different
brought
fight.
up, even if they find incriminating evidence with Russia, and I don't think we're going to see an impeachment. I don't.
No, I don't. I agree with you, Scott. I just don't see that. I don't see that happening.
Okay. I want to ask a question that I don't know where this might lead, so that might be fun. But kind
Okay.
of similarly, DeSantis had a banner, and I've seen this from a lot of other people that I can't get a squirreled down answer on. And maybe you know, it's not the wall, but they have promises made, promises kept. Like they're just really hammering home that Trump kept his campaign promises. And what do they mean by that? Which ones? Where? Am I missing?
Did you hear any examples?
Forgetting something?
Did you get any examples
No.
or evidence?
The conversation turned into build the wall chants. And that was my first response usually was like, didn't he campaign mostly on building that fucking wall that now he's like holding us hostage to pay for, that he originally said Mexico would pay for? This doesn't sound like promises kept at all.
Yeah, he's using it as leverage in every way.
Yeah.
I mean, what did he say? He's gonna shut
hold
down
out till the next election. He's gonna say, "Okay, we're gonna start building the wall," and then he's gonna get elected.
Well,
The
see,
wall
that's
part 2, he's gonna run that on a re-election of wall building. Finally
Well,
gonna get the wall.
no,
We
dude,
just got
no.
approved for the wall. Let's do it.
No, I think Scott has it. I think Scott's right. He's going to, he's posturing to shut down the government to get the wall built now. He knows he's gonna lose, or it's not gonna happen, or even if he gets the funding, he's not gonna start it. But what he wants is to lose so that he can run in 2020 as these fucking Democrats have yet again stopped what you wanted, and it's more things to rile them up against the Democrats instead of for Trump. It's not about whether Trump kept his
run if we impeached him.
Oh yeah, I also think that. Yeah,
I wouldn't consider that.
I didn't. That wasn't the point I was making at all. But I think that probably is true. I think he'd try. I
That'd be
totally
weird.
do. I
He'd
totally
definitely
do.
push. Whoever he supported would probably have a huge push, which kind of is the same thing, I guess. Even if we impeach him, he still has a wave of support, and like, kind of like Bernie has political power.
I don't know.
right?
I never thought about that question because I don't think that that he's gonna get impeached. And I'm actually I'm a big TYT viewer. I happen to agree with them about 75% of the time. And Cenk is convinced that Trump won't make it to the midterms. It's in November.
He's convinced that he will make it to midterms?
No, that he's out. That he'll be gone. Like, you're out of your mind.
No.
You're literally out of your mind.
No, I really do. If I could vote, I think we should impeach. I think Democrats should impeach, and I think they should impeach not on Russia. I think that's a bad idea.
How would you have him be impeached then? On what
do
grounds?
I think we will impeach? I wouldn't bet on it.
TYT is the Young Turk.
Yes, thank you for that clarification, by the way.
Young Turks, it's a big news media, progressive, left-leaning.
You know what's yeah, all right. How do we feel about PolitiFact? Is PolitiFact left, right, middle?
Doesn't it generally lean left, but it's still I somewhat trust PolitiFact. I mean
because they actually have
I don't remember them having major blunders, but they might have.
Well, they actually have an ongoing article for Trump's campaign promises.
So according
Oh.
to
I'm interested.
FactCheck.com,
Yeah, give it to me, Scott.
they are almost dead center, least biased.
Really?
They lean slightly to the left.
Okay.
Wait, what?
Say it again. Say it again for Dalton there.
No, I got it. It just took me a second. I got you.
All
Just,
right.
Yeah, I would say they're like
me-
maybe 5% into the.
Okay. That's more center than I thought.
Well,
But-
can I bring this up as full screen so I can show the stream? This is very interesting.
Yeah, I'm really interested in what you have. Is it
And this is something
is it
I
a
just
summary or
found.
a
This
list?
is not vetted in any way. I haven't looked at this before. I'm not gonna like biasedly show.
We're not doing this
my-
all the time.
No, we got life things going
But
on.
for
I
the
mean,
sake of,
look at the aspect.
did Trump keep his campaign promises? Have you guys heard that? I feel like I've heard that a lot.
I hear it a lot too, actually.
He kept his campaign promises. And I'm like, I can't get anyone to like, which ones, buddy? It just seems like people are parroting things at that point.
Well, one
but-
of the ones that I'm seeing here is I'm trying to get
Maybe
an
I'm
aspect on it. It's
talking
I'm
a lot of
having I'm having a lot of trouble loading up this page because I'm running a lot of my internet resources at once. But I did see one that was declared a promise kept was raising tariffs. I don't remember him promising that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think many people voted for him on raising tariffs, if I remember right, but maybe they
He
did.
campaign on trade laws.
Yeah. I guess,
Look at
that was focused more on him ending the TPP, not raising tariffs.
Khaleesi says, I don't hear
I guess
he kept his promises because I surround myself with sane people.
Yes.
By the way, Alex,
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
according
I'm
to
really
that
jealous.
same website, MSNBC is actually further left than the Young Turk.
Um,
I don't know.
maybe they do
All right.
either of these
I don't trust that
stations
website
have
anymore.
some, like late night programs that I'm not understanding that throw the scale
Just-
or
Just
Oh, I
slightly.
doubt it. I doubt it so much. I don't know how I feel about that website at this point.
Oh, they have not been reevaluated since July 29th of last year. They have hired numerous conservative journalists, reporters, and writers. And,
MSNBC's changed a lot in the last year.
need to be reevaluated. So it's
Okay,
no longer.
maybe we'll go. We're gonna go.
I
with
would
the
agree with need to be reevaluated, but
Yeah, I'm gonna go with
maybe
the strong.
they
Maybe.
did used to be more left. I think. I'm not a good person to have the history of MSNBC.
Let's take a look at this scorecard here, this pie graph I've got,
Yeah.
and then let's go to
I wanna know.
let's go to a quick break, and we'll be back shortly after that. But let's go ahead and get this. Let me show.
Am I going to be
group
proven
here.
wrong? Dun dun dun.
It's
Did Trump keep
interesting.
a bunch of promises I forgot? Tariffs? That's not a big one.
Oh, give me a break, Discord.
Technology is so great.
My processor's on fire.
You need to just read them to us?
No, I need Discord to go back from the settings menu.
Okay.
So that I can activate screen sharing. The answer to your question, though, Scott, is yes.
All right. When we take our break,
Oh yeah, would it be a good idea to take a break and then do that pie chart or no? You got it.
No, I got it at this point. Our stream elements was only showing one, so it looks like it may be working. We just need to check, and also I need the credentials. But all right, let's go ahead and take a look at this pie graph here that my buddies are able to see, and now the stream is able to see. This is according to PolitiFact. The promises broken are in orange here. That represents 7.8% of promises. The promises kept are a little bit bigger, 11.8.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, I hadn't considered all those other options. I think I'm considering a lot of those as, you know, failures essentially,
So
with in the works and stalled. What is, you get to call stalled a success? That's a pretty big chunk. What is that?
32.4% are stalled.
Like, is the wall installed? Because what percentage is the wall?
Well, we can click on stalled and take a look. So enacting term limits, he's stalled. I don't know if I'm okay. Impose death penalties for cop killers.
We don't even convict them. Why would we have death penalties? Oh, for cop killers.
Cop killers.
Oh, I'm thinking of it backwards. Holy shit.
Not killer cops.
Yeah.
Not killer cops.
Got it.
You're such a liberal.
Yeah.
Calm down.
I think there's more killer cops.
Got
than
it
cop
backwards.
killers.
No, you're just liberals and don't understand reality. Appoint a special prosecutor to invest Hillary Clinton. That's stalled. Okay, we're still, but you know, even last night, I heard from the other room somebody talking about the 2016 election, and Hillary Clinton's still.
Her email.
But her emails.
We're still stuck in it. That's what Russia's about. It's about keeping us stuck in that election forever. We're never gonna get out.
Oh, here's one
Russia
that
is linked to those DNC emails that somehow gave us Trump and, you know, magic.
Dude, look at the top one on the screen right now.
That keeps us from the president.
Look at the top one on the screen. Look at the top two. Look at the top two. The top one says invest $550 billion in infrastructure and create an infrastructure fund. Something that I think we would. I think that's what we would all want. And then the second one is...
that's a Bernie Sanders point.
Yeah,
this is where he took some of our Bernie bros.
Yeah, but
he's installed.
Okay. Makes no cuts to Social Security.
No cuts to Social Security?
And the quote... the thing that I'm liking about this is PolitiFact actually quotes the president here. He said... The quote from Mr. Trump is, I'm not going to cut Social Security like every other Republican, and I'm not going to cut Medicare or Medicaid.
But all of his proposed plans involved cutting Medicare and Social Security. Like all of his tax plans. They didn't pass, but he's trying as hard as he can. How does this count as stalled? Stalled sounds like such a neutral word.
It is a very neutral word. No, what stalled means is he's trying and being hurt by the Democrats.
He
that's what that means.
Failed. He's trying desperately to.
Yeah, right. Impose a hiring freeze on federal employees. Do you remember this shit?
A hiring freeze
on federal employees. Eliminate Common Core. Place lifetime ban on foreign lobbyists raising money for American elections. Defund Planned Parenthood.
Stalled.
Yeah, all this is stalled. So if we go back,
See, yeah, in which case, defunding Planned Parenthood, yeah, he's still trying to do that. So I kind of agree that this one is stalled in a way, right?
Yeah, that one
Because he's
probably
trying
is.
to keep that promise.
Because fuck
I don't-
women's health, right?
Women's autonomy at that, let alone their health. We don't care about their. I don't even know where to start this bitching rant that I'm about to get on, but
3 men bitch about women's rights, but
we don't give them rights.
there still needs to be a rant.
We
like
we as
we're
a society,
just not the right guys.
we as a society, men need to be able to talk about this, in my opinion.
Sure.
But we like literally how can you I don't understand how you can be real with yourself if you can go and look up with some credible evidence that Planned Parenthood does such a marginally small amount of abortions, and then when you dig into the abortions, they're done in the first trimester by an incredible margin.
And no government money goes towards them.
Not one goddamn motherfucking cent. Like the whole. Okay, that is something I wasn't gonna bring up. I'm so glad you did.
No tax dollars go to abortion.
How do you you want to defund Planned Parenthood because they do abortions, but no abortion is funded by the government?
STD and cancer screening and mammograms and all the things that they need, but no, they do abortion. Fuck them.
I don't, and I said this last week, and you weren't here for it, Scott. So I kind of want your opinion on it. But I've been seeing a lot. I mean, just an incredible amount of, I would call them exposés, or at least like self-help little videos or something that would be expressed by news articles, YouTube videos, punditry, things like that, on how well truth and facts work as arguments.
They used to,
and that they don't. They absolutely don't now.
No.
And that, what do you think of that? Does that seem more, have you seen these articles more prevalently as of late, or am I in my bubble?
I have not personally seen them because I don't do a whole lot of looking at politics anymore. It gets me down. So
as he says on my political show.
I look at it before we do the show because it interests me, but I don't want to see it every minute of every. Know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but I have a problem with it. But
it's hard to watch sometimes. I'm with you on.
No, that's
you gotta really stomach it.
Well, that's the beauty of having co-hosts like you guys, is that I know that I don't have to stomach everything. I have you guys to back me up, so it helps me out quite a bit with having you guys on board. And trust me, dude, I know. But for some reason, I have this compulsion to be informed. I don't know. It's not that I'm angry or get my ire up. It's that it's just the awareness itself has been quite shaking, I guess.
Tax cuts. Okay.
Well,
so we have a comment on Twitch.
Okay.
I'd like us to respond to that. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So promise kept. Tax cuts. Okay. Great. I'm paying less in tax, but our country is also falling. Our infrastructure desperately fixed. We want to save money. Let's switch to a Medicare for all. It's been proven it will save money.
And that's what we're gonna play after the break. Is we're gonna talk about Medicare's the new Medicare study after the break here. But I want to throw in one thing to Scott here, because he's going on quite a good tirade on this here. How did we benefit from the tax cuts is all that I want to know. I mean, I know that I'm not in a position personally, being a podcaster going to school who's focusing on that instead of working. I get that I'm not in that position to observe it firsthand, but how did the struggling among us benefit from these tax cuts? I haven't seen any evidence in that case. In fact, I've seen evidence against it.
I haven't noticed anything on paycheck. I know the tax cuts were mainly for the wealthy, so that's probably why we're not seeing a whole lot of it.
Oh yeah.
But let's move on to reducing regulation. Okay, so we are increasing the CO2 in the
Okay, wait. You
reducing
can't.
these
I know for a fact
Hold
that
on.
argument
Part-
isn't going to work because you have to believe in scientific evidence of global warming. So
which there is.
well,
plentiful.
but that argument isn't going to win, even though it's right. So try again. The regulation.
Change.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just moving on to the next topic.
Well, then let me get on regulation here real quick. Regulation is not a bad thing when it's actually what he's removing is not regulations, it's consumer protections. He's making it where the regulations that he's removing are directly against consumers and in favor of corporate autonomy when he can't give women bodily autonomy. So giving corporations carte blanche in every way to give you to take advantage of you, just like net neutrality is him removing a regulation that is simply a consumer protection instead of something that stifles you. Continue, Scott.
All right. So changing illegal immigration, yeah, and kept kids in cages away from. Great change.
You're cutting out a little bit.
Am I okay?
Yeah, just a touch.
So, okay, so our country
Sorry,
kept kids away from their parents in cages. And honestly, illegal immigration has been going down for years.
We're at a
It's
net
not something
zero, I
that's
believe.
spiking.
I think we're at a net zero for immigration.
And that's going to follow on to the next point, the take back our borders. Again, don't need to take them back. They're not being violated that much. Crying out loud. The people that do cross, if they're illegal, they can't get a social security card and they can't leech off it. Please tell me how they do that.
Or at least show me when they
Evidence?
have. Yeah, evidence. Evidence speaks louder than conjecture, except for if you're, not listening to evidence.
And the last point, if I look at the facts, I will love him also.
Okay.
I am looking at the facts, and it makes me hate him more.
Yeah, I don't know which
the-
facts. Again, I think it's the facts of is this useful instead of is it true.
You want to look at fact? So let's look at some fact.
We might be postponing our break here. Scott's getting animated. I love it.
We'll go to break after this. Okay.
No, keep going.
So here's some facts. So the leader of the country is basically creating his own media,
Oh, he's
exploiting youth.
attacking the media at the very best. Yeah.
He's endorsing police brutality. He is demonizing people who believe, look, or love different. He is stripping vulnerable people of their families, jobs, and ability to live. He believes Congress should change its rules to give him more power. Now, this is what Anne Frank Center for Mutual Respect posted about both Hitler and Trump, because they both fit. Look at the parallels between 1930s Germany and look at now.
All I can think of is hearing somebody say, well, it's the left that's causing this. All I can hear is these
it's really
the
really
right-wing arguments in my
convenient that
head.
there's always a way to spin it that the left is causing it somehow in a way backwards way, or
Well, again,
you know.
the enemy is always both weak and strong.
Yeah, it's because double standards are really easy to just fling either direction, I guess. Ugh.
It's
The
but-
really troubling. Okay.
No, go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. The really troubling worry I have behind this is kind of what's driving polling, like the Republican base, like that really extremist kind of, QAnon, like these crazy people that are like burgeoning on radicals at this point. They've kind of dropped the euphemism for a lot of this. It's more widespread to like, we're not even like, your facts about immigration are true. We're at a net zero. This is like we're fighting it in the wrong way. But then like, really, these people just hate Mexicans now, and there's a whole base that's like polling. Like, does Donald Trump really care about immigration, or what does he say about Mexicans? And we're following him loyally by the law. Like we're not questioning anything he says. Um, God, these guys.
Well,
I don't know.
Okay,
Like,
again, wait a second. You just brought up another point that I want to keep harping back to it being fascistic by unquestioning. You are. It's essentially the same thing with. I got it, Scott. Sorry, I had that adjusted for the other thing. It's essentially the fact that dissent is considered to be treasonous. It's considered to be traitorous. You can't.
Yeah,
You can
and
no
the
longer
base
question. Like what we're doing here is not trying to smear the president. I'm just trying to get a control over the facts of the matter and try to evaluate the things that are evidential.
What? I don't know. I don't think we're trying to smear the president.
No,
I
and that's
mean,
the thing. That's all right.
anyone who's worried about smearing the president,
Well, they're saying that we're not seeing the facts for
You
what
mean
they
the-
are. It's like I'm trying to evaluate, given all the things that you've given
Matt
to
is
me.
saying that?
I don't know. I'm just gonna go on this rant here. Let's go ahead and take our first break here. We'll come right back. We're gonna try to make it around a 5-minute break here. So stick with us here on Distraction and Discussion.
I didn't change.
Hello and welcome back to Distraction and
Aloha.
Discussion. We are your hosts. I am Alex, and joined as always by Scott and Dalton.
So,
All right, before the break, we were discussing the Trumpometer, the truthometer for our dear leader.
oh yeah,
But
promises made, promises
we
kept,
did
apparently.
get your
I don't know.
your comments during the break here. We had a question about I don't remember us claiming
Unemployment
that
is low.
Trump hates minorities, though I'm not exactly saying he doesn't. Why is unemployment the lowest for blacks, Hispanics, and women in history, apparently? So it's okay. That's the beauty
That's
of
the only thing that they're interested in. You seem really on ear to the ground.
That's the thing about the labor statistic that's really disingenuous, is that it doesn't track the quality of jobs. It just tracks jobs, period. So sweatshops would technically be included, even though sweatshops are illegal. I know. Don't tweet me. It's
You work minimum wage, can't
Yeah.
afford rent in a 1-bedroom apartment anywhere in this country.
I would be more interested in the metric, not of unemployment,
employed.
but
Great.
employed and on a government assistance. You know, that would be, you know, the those among us who work full time.
Trump Republicans want to get rid of.
Well, those of us who work full time and can't afford our lives, and it's not because I have 7 iPhones.
I've been needing a new car for 3 years now, and
Surprised you even
I've
have a
made
license.
more than minimum wage, and I can't afford to replace me.
Well, I mean, the thing is that this system has no incentive to help the consumer, to help the worker. There's no incentives, therefore no one goes for it. Everybody says that the free market will solve everybody's problems. But if the reason why the free market works for some problems is because there's an incentive to solve a problem. If there's no incentive to solve a problem because it doesn't affect those who can solve it, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
You're at a loss. You're sucked. That's why I'm not. And I've had to defend whether I'm a socialist more often since Ocasio-Cortez has won her primary than I thought was going to happen. And everybody is smearing her as a democratic socialist because that's how she wrongly identifies, just like that's how Bernie Sanders wrongly identifies. They're not democratic socialists, they're social democrats. And I know that sounds like a real pedantic caveat.
Nobody cares to argue.
Nobody cares to
yeah.
argue it, but the minute that Bernie misspoke in 2016, it was over. And now those words are completely interchangeable. The thing that people need to get in their head nowadays about this argument is that most of us on the progressive left are not post-capitalist people. We're not. I'm not advocating for absolutely post-capitalist, though I would be open to. I would be open.
If it falls apart on its own accord, I mean, we have to consider.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that I'm completely open to your arguments if you want to talk about a post-capitalist society, because I'm open to other people's arguments that disagree with my own because I'm a liberal instead of a conservative. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I get on my soapbox a little bit there? But what we're advocating for is a reformed capitalism, a merit-based democracy. I'm not asking for handouts past opportunity. I want equal opportunity, not equal outcome like you want to smear us in that way. And because you're loud and have these huge bullhorns, you're the squeaky wheel on the American political pedestal, and you're loud enough to drown out actual facts. It makes me so crazy because that's an absolute misrepresentation of the left's socialistic views. It's safety net instead of whatever the hell demon word you want to use. I mean, what is it? I think Scott actually texted me something or posted in Discord about the reallocation of wealth. Do you want to? Wasn't that you, Scott?
Oh yes. Where did I put that?
Do you want to pull that up and read that for me here?
Not prepared with that. Okay.
Sorry, I did spring that on my co-host here.
Oh dear.
Well, while you're doing that, I was just gonna add real quick, like the left gets strawmanned so much
And doesn't
by the
defend
people that
themselves.
are crying about fake news that it's almost a joke for you to claim you listened to our side of things or that you're arguing against us.
No, because that's exactly right. That's a
there's-
good point. I want to point that out because they think that they're listening to
We're
our
not even
arguments
having the
because they're
same
given to
argument.
the. They think that they're listening to our arguments by having them digested by Rush Limbaugh, Tucker Carlson, Mark Levin, all these right-wing guys that are going to give you their interpretation of a left-wing argument and are obviously going to skew it. Whereas,
I did find it, by the way.
Yeah.
okay, go ahead, Scott. You want to read how?
So
Go
it
ahead.
starts off, quote from Bernie Sanders. It would be a nice idea for conservatives to read the Constitution of the United States. Now, Bernie Sanders' campaign, not necessarily on redistribution of the wealth, but in fixing the problems that are facing our country in terms of income inequality and quality of life, all that sort of fun stuff.
Equality of
so
opportunity is how I'd say it.
Ben Shapiro, he
You know, your
is
right-wing
quoted
smart guy.
saying, which part of the Constitution allows you to seize and redistribute wealth in the name of your utopian vision? Well,
It's funny you should ask, Ben.
Article 1, Section 8. So pretty early on in the Constitution.
Article 1. That is pretty early on. I want to say that's the first article.
Yeah, could be.
Wow. I mean, it just shows you that maybe if you read past 0, you'd have found this?
You'd think.
Oh, that's cute.
the
But he's a
Congress-
smart guy, though. I'm, go ahead. Read the article.
The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States.
So that sounds pretty clear cut
Yeah.
to me.
We do have a reason to use taxes for ourselves, Mr. Shapiro.
What do I want? I can tell you.
All right,
exactly.
hold on, Scott. Let's, because Dalton's not reading chat here. We got a question and it said, okay, tell me what you want. What is the left-wing position?
Now, I can't speak for all left-wing people, all liberals, progressives, whatever. What I want to see our infrastructure fixed. I want to see our military budget cut down to be in line with the rest of the world. I would like to see the wealth gap disappear and have a better quality of life, closer to what it was in the 70s, where you could work a full-time job and afford your college, afford to get educated and get out there into the field, be able to afford a 2-bedroom house. That'd be really nice.
Things that sound like a capitalist dream.
You know, the American dream that
kinda
was
want the
talked
same
about
thing.
for decades and decades and decades. The American dream, which our generation does not have access to, and minorities do not have access to.
Hey, wait. If you're going to talk about access, like access to health insurance, you have access, Scott. Just shut your eyes. Go to
Oh.
sleep. Just shut your
Yeah.
eyes.
Access to
Shut your eyes.
That
Go to
argument.
sleep, and the American dream is yours. You win. You captured it. Sorry, was that
Oh, but
pessimistic?
there's a gate there. It's money, but you can't earn that money to get to that American dream. So there's definitely a gate.
You
How
know,
much money of Jeff Bezos can I physically steal at one time?
I'm
That's
cur-
about my quickest way there.
we were discussing in class today different ways of studying populations, where you talk about a longitudinal study where you take someone at a young age, you do the study on them at a young age, you take it at a middle age, an older age, and then continue on with the same subject over time, or a cross-sectional study where you take different age groups of the population, so like 20-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 80-year-olds, and then do that and kind of get a cross-sectional of generational differences and the uses and disuses of each within studying the population.
Yeah.
And it was shocking for me to find this. This still is bothering me now. Scott mentioned the ability to go to college and improve your life and things like that, just like you mentioned it, like it was earlier in the 70s, right, Scott?
Yes, and actually I brought up the 70s for a very good reason.
Yeah, I don't want to misquote you. Do you want to? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so another thing about the stagnant wages and the increasing wage gap, wages also have not gone up with productivity.
Oh, good point.
Approximately 1973, where productivity and hourly compensation were rising equally. 1973 is when that all pivoted. Wages stagnated and actually went down throughout the 90s. Say 90%, 96% productivity, 96% wage, average person. Productivity is now up to 241.8%. So we're working twice as hard and then some.
It would seem.
But in terms of wages adjusted for inflation, we're only seeing a 15% increase instead of, a 238% increase or 138% increase.
Well, I mean, does anybody remember the teacher strikes of the earlier year? I mean, we were seeing it across the board.
I have to remind you that that's not everybody's wages in the United States was stagnant since the 70s. That's lower income wages.
That's average. That's not the 1%.
Yeah.
That have
yeah. If you're up at the top, at the 1%, you've had your raises every year. You don't even really have productivity by an argument, and your raise is going up every fucking.
Yeah, I was gonna say your measurable productivity as the people whose wages did not stagnate is predicated upon the productivity of those below you whose wages did stagnate. So your productivity is null and void. Yet you still reap all the benefits. Also, by the way, St. Michael, if you have a comment, let's go ahead and hear it. Let's do it. I was talking about the studies themselves. The one thing that I found very disturbing, speaking of college and things of that nature, was that there's a vastly larger amount of people that are our age, guys, that are enrolled in college. Our generation enrolls in college at the highest rate to date, but we're not going to. But our graduation rate is lower than the baby boomers.
Huh. I wonder what sort of things life could throw at these young adults that might force them to consider leaving college, that baby boomers were able to suffer through due to college being much cheaper and wages making much more sense.
And far fewer unpaid internship after college.
Oh my God, the unpaid internships are not for this economy. They're just not. It's a sham. I mean, you have to survive, you have to have income in this economy, period. I mean, in any economy, period, you have to have income of a sort. If you're doing an unpaid internship that takes up the exhaustive amount of your time, mental energy, and effort, how are you going to survive? How are you going to eat? You're going to, you're going to need a stipend from the rest of us to be able to survive and be able to become better, more productive in the society and then give back to society. So we're paying ahead as an investment for you. Oh, that sounds like a utopian-ass idea.
And that's why you have a lot of our generation still living with their parents.
That's me. Hi.
Yeah, especially when you go to school and you have to do unpaid internships.
Well,
and you eat ramen, instant ramen, which is terrible for you.
But here's the kicker, guys. Like I'm gonna admit to everybody here, I have no shame saying I'm living with my parents because it's the most financially sound idea that I have. But I was out on my own for about 4 to 5 years, and I still needed mommy and daddy's help to survive. Period. And it's not because I know I'm irresponsible. Everybody's got to grow up sometime, but to an unreasonable level at this point, I was not able to really gain autonomy.
See, it took me till I was 25 or 26 before I didn't require any more help from my parents to survive.
Yeah, I mean, they've even added a new generational gap. You know how they talk about, young adolescents, middle age, elderly. They've added burgeoning adulthood now because there's so many of us in this stage of, well, after 18, I'm still trying to become an adult because most people are leaving the nest around 27.
We really didn't want, even when we tried.
Snidely brought up the student debt as a reason for I'm assuming as a reason for why our generation is not graduating as much, which is a very liberal comment for you to make, because who's got the ambulance?
Not us.
Sorry, that's me. My bad.
No worries.
I can turn that off in a second if you want me to leave, or
no,
it's gone now.
It's fine. It's just.
I think we're good. If
This
it
is
gets
in the
worse,
ghetto now?
This is a live show, guys. So everybody,
Sorry about that.
it's just a reality
It
of the
was fine
situation.
until now. I didn't realize. My bad.
I will get to your comment here, St. Michael, but I want to address the student debt thing real quick.
What's going on?
Well, the comment was, the entirety of the comment was the word student debt, which I'm obviously projecting my ideals onto it, I think, but if it's reading the way I think it is, that's a very liberal thing to say, because student debt is absolutely something that's crushing our generation. That is a big reason why students aren't able to try again, why they aren't able to find the right major, because you're required to declare your major instantaneously.
When you were 18, did you really know what you wanted to be for the rest of your life?
Dude, I went out on my own, opened up a small business, made a half of a success, then a big failure, and then wound up going back to college and living with my parents.
A lot of experience.
No, I didn't know at 18 exactly what the hell I was going to do for the rest of my life. How many people really do? I mean,
and if you want to do this and then find out after you've started your schooling that maybe this isn't right for me, or maybe I don't have the strengths required for this.
That happens a lot.
Need to move over to another one. You can't afford to do that. You don't want to be stuck in school for 8 years trying to figure out what to go into.
All right, so St. Michael's got a good point there too. He knows what he wants to do, he just can't afford it. It's the same. It's the same problem from a different angle. It's the same problem from a different angle. You're not allowed this access because you have been self-selected out by being poor or lower income. I mean, I know I'm just said that pretty derogatorily, but you're not allowed to make yourself better because you can't afford it. You're not allowed to. You're not one of the better citizens. You have to be born into this autocracy of having money. But I want to keep going back to the fucking student debt.
Or get extremely lucky.
Because, yes, that's win the genetic lottery, in my opinion. But yeah. I want to keep going back to the student debt because that is incredibly liberal to realize that that's what's crushing us, especially just after, and I should have done research on this for this week, but Betsy DeVos has decided to revoke the Student Debt Forgiveness Act, or not act, but a student debt forgiveness that Obama had promised to students who were taken advantage of by predatory colleges like ITT Tech, and specifically those universities like Trump University that have now gone out of business, because that's what they were. They weren't institutions, they were businesses. They've gone out of business because they could not either stand up to credentials, which you might call regulations, or just flat out just shitty businesses. And we were going to forgive the student debt because a lot of these students were taken advantage of because they're targeted at low income people who are stuck in their situation in life. I mean, every time you see a commercial for these for-profit colleges, why would they advertise? Do you see advertisements for Harvard? Do you see advertisements for Yale? Do you see advertisements for University of Texas, which is a state school? Do you see advertisements for UNL?
Who are these advertisements for, and why?
They're for the people that they're going to take advantage of. Those people who don't have access to information as readily. Those people who are looking for any way to escape their financial situation and become a better member of our society. Because giving back to the society also benefits the individual. It's really not
taking
hard.
Advantage of what could be our best citizens and our most productive citizens.
Absolutely.
And we're selling them down a fucking hole. But we'll make sure to keep them shackled to their debt. That's a good idea. That's really helping out our economy.
I promised I would get this back, and I'm kind of not done with student debt, but I want to move on because I have a juicy story that Scott has that I want to get to real quick. But St. Michael did comment here and says, I feel like while the military budget should be lowered, however, I feel as though we should put more money into, excuse me, helping veterans get on their feet. And I'm afraid lowering the budget will push them further out of help. And I think that's
disagree.
I actually think it's a legitimate concern.
It's a legitimate concern, yes. But I mean, if we were to cut the military budget in half, we'd still be the world's largest military, most expensive military.
But
we could use that money and put that towards things like Veterans Affairs and PTSD, and all of that stuff, instead of spending $12 billion on this military parade.
Oh my God, the parade.
You could take care of the veterans with that money.
I actually would be okay.
You could help the veterans a little bit with that money, but you're gonna have to end a war or two to really
make a marginal difference. I'm actually of the mind.
Huge.
I'm actually of the mind that it's almost like,
not to help veterans. We can do veterans for less than a war.
I'm actually of the mind that I would be okay with cutting the budget in half and moving the majority of that towards Veterans Affairs and helping out veterans, because I think veterans are more important than wars.
Absolutely.
Because and that's a no-brainer, because the fewer wars that you're in, the fewer veterans you're going to create, the lesser amount of trauma you're going to put on people. I have veterans in my family. I get benefits from the government by being the child of a veteran. It's not enough. It's not enough when people can't come home and imagine how all I've heard from I have several Vietnam veterans in my family, and they don't talk about it very much. But a lot of the people around them that know them intimately tell me about how they were just looked upon as they weren't looked upon like the World War II folks were. They weren't heroes when they came home. And that hasn't stopped. That hasn't stopped since Vietnam. The Korean vets weren't treated as heroes. The Iraqi vets are kind of treated as heroes, but then if you're on the street, I don't care, I got mine.
They were all wars that we didn't need to be in either.
They're not even wars. They're technically police actions.
But the thing that bothers me the most is we don't take care of the PTSD in our veterans. That is something that desperately needs to change. One of my friends and coworkers from back when I worked at Walmart, one of the coolest guys I've ever known. I remember sitting out on the smoking patio that they had, and we heard gunshots in the distance, and he was immediately on the ground. He was terrified. And about 3 years,
I wouldn't know how to react to that. You don't hear that. You shouldn't in a normal situation just be like on the ready for gunshots.
Yeah, exactly. And about 3 years after I stopped working at Walmart, he actually took his own life because of the PTSD. It's something that needs to be dealt with.
It's extremely common, more common than it should be, for sure.
I'm gonna say it again, and I know this is like I almost want to do an unpopular opinion segment, but I think we should have a draft. It would make everybody wake up. Everybody's son and daughter is in danger of fighting in a war they don't believe in, and all of a sudden we'd have actual peace protests or war protests, whichever way you want to spin that word. I know that's really unpopular, but man, I don't know any other way to motivate people to wake up.
But here's the problem with protesting. It's really hard for Americans to protest. Because job security is not there, unions aren't there. We can't just take days off to protest.
Yeah, right.
You gotta schedule that shit in advance.
Right. Don't women sign up for the draft now, or is it still just men?
I think it's just men that have to sign up for the draft.
Well, we don't have,
Interesting.
I'm not sure. I
thought that had changed. I think that that would have to change for what I think to occur. Then St. Michael is that we would have to. Everybody would be at risk of being drafted. I'm saying that the reason why I'm for that is not because I want to go to war. I don't want to go in the military. But the reason why I say that is because the only things that seem to get through to people are not facts, evidence, anything like that. The only thing that gets through to people is experience. And if you let them experience a threat firsthand as like, oh, well, the only thing that I care about in this world is my family, my child, and now someone who I maybe agree with or don't agree with is going to send my child out to die when they're not willing to fight for it themselves, you would get a lot more people being serious about being anti-war. Our war economy is so pervasive. I mean, we learned from getting out of the Great Depression, but we learned in the wrong direction. That war was the way to stimulate the economy, so we kept doing it. I mean, that's all that I kept hearing out of my like my history classes when I was taking those in high school, is that sorry, that comment lost me. Apparently, just like Israel, women have to serve. What is the Israelis? What do I
don't know.
Should I care? Is
I'm
that
not stuck on
rude?
the women having to serve. What, I don't get it. Why is that so important?
Well, the only importance I was giving it was that it would force everybody, whether they have a male or a female child, to care about war. That was my only point.
So Israel's a little bit, or Israel's a little bit different.
Society.
It requires that its citizens serve in the military when they turn 8.
Okay, I'd also be okay with that.
That's
too.
That's a little bit different than everyone signing up for the draft.
That is different.
I almost think
there are other countries that do that too.
Required service, I think, would probably get my point across faster. And two, I think sending everybody through boot camp would probably increase the national health.
It's one way to look at it.
I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe that's conservative of me to say. I don't know.
I think my big solution is still universal health care, public option, that sort of thing, to get everybody here on a freaking, like, if you get the healthcare situation under fucking control, handling mental health hopefully will be a domino that comes after that, and veterans health and veterans care and all this is already a social program that works in a lot of similar ways. That if we stop trying to profit off of sick people so much, there's a lot of extra money there that we can actually help out some of these extra problems and deal with mental health in a lot of ways that probably we're not even thinking of too, that people need help, that we're just, Okay,
I want to point something out there.
Why are we restricting ourselves?
No, and that's beautiful. I'm glad you brought that up. I want to point out one thing based on a comment that started this whole tangent that we're on now. Is that what is the left's position? You remember that comment? Is that okay if you have a problem with this characterization of your position?
The right's position.
So no, wait. That's a good counter, and I was going to do it earlier, but I just want to parse apart the problem with that question. Is that we're talking, the discussion that we were just having was PTSD and how to deal with that. And my solution was possibly instituting a draft. And I believe Scott's solution was adjusting the budget and things of that nature. Your solution, Dalton, to this was Medicare for all. Do you see how asking what is the left's question without asking what is the left's position without asking what is the left's position on blank is a really disingenuous question, because the left's position on what? Like my solution to this problem is not set in stone. It's up to interpretation. I'm throwing out ideas and having a disagreement because I want to improve, not because I want to shout down, which is completely, I think, the opposite timbre that you're going to get from the right wing. It's much of, the left is here to destroy you. The left is here to silence you. And you have to fight back with everything you can instead of having a genuine conversation. Therefore, you get whipped up into this craziness of saying, well, the left obviously must think that they have this solution to it. And I don't have this blanket solution. We, as three people who agree so much that we wanted to start a show with each other, just disagreed on the solution to PTSD. Did anybody else catch that but me?
Yeah. three-way split on that for sure. No, you're right.
But I don't disagree with either of my two co-hosts because I don't know which solution is going to work best because we're not allowed to try in America. We're not allowed to try anything, even if we see it working elsewhere.
None of our
Especially
solutions were
if we see it
loyalty to
working elsewhere.
Bernie.
Yes, thank you, St. Michael. Yes, we do disagree on quite a bit, but it's disagreements on minutia. It's not disagreements on seeing improvements that need to be made. I mean, we're how to get the improvements that we want done is we're not even in that step politically in this nation.
No.
Like, we're not even allowed to have these conversations because the minute I start talking about Medicare for all, or any of us start talking about it, it's how are you going to pay for that? Where are you going to find that money in the budget? It costs X amount of $1 trillion. Even if you cut the military, you know, I can go down this whole. I can play the conservative because I've heard this argument how many times.
Alex, I believe you had a video to play on some of that.
Oh,
Bernie Sanders.
Do you want to push back your European
Do you have a video?
Oh,
police?
Yeah, we'll push that back till next week.
Okay, yeah. Let's play another. Let's play. We
I
can.
think we're on a roll here.
We are on a great roll, guys. This is great. This is
Got like 10 minutes left.
recently. I'm gonna set this up. Recently, the Koch brothers. Everybody knows the Koch brothers.
Oh yeah.
Can one of you guys, while I'm setting
Evil
this up,
incarnate.
one of you guys, while I'm setting this up, Trump tweeted denouncing this study and the Koch brothers entirely. Can one of y'all look that up, please, for me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. You're really good at this research thing. But the Koch brothers recently went out and tried to disprove Medicare for all, and I am loving this because this comes straight out of the mouth of a lot of my professors that say that the most interesting studies that you can ever conduct ever are those that yield results in the opposite direction of your prediction. So the Koch brothers went out.
I found the tweet.
Thank you. The Koch brothers went out and funded. Oh, did they fund this study? I mean, all the might and power of the Koch brothers to try and find and skew statistics was put forth towards trying to discredit Medicare for all. And what did they yield? Well, they yielded a thank you from Bernie Sanders for proving his point. Now, I think I should play this video before we do the tweet. Yes, Scott?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go ahead here and listen to Old Man Bernie.
Old man Bernie.
Old Man Bernie.
Thank you, Koch brothers. It's so funny.
Let me thank the Koch brothers of all people.
Of all
for
people.
Sponsoring a study that shows that Medicare for all would save the American people $2 trillion over a 10-year period. I suspect that is not what the Koch brothers intended to do, but that is what is in the study of the Mercatus Center, an organization that is significantly funded by the Koch brothers. At a time when the United States spends far more per capita on healthcare than any other country on earth, almost 18% of our GDP, a Medicare for all healthcare system would save the average family significant sums of money. It will do that by substantially reducing the administrative costs now taking place as a result of the billing, bureaucracy, and insatiable greed within the insurance industry, whose main function in life is not to make people well, but to make stockholders incredibly rich. If we can get
I just want to point out that he's basically breaking down my argument earlier of incentive. The incentive is not to care for people because can anybody on this panel answer me how insurance companies turn a profit?
They bet against you.
They deny you care. They don't pay. If you don't pay,
they don't pay out.
You keep
pay out as little as they can.
Yes, absolutely, exactly that. So
like as much as they can squeeze.
But why would they do that as someone who's there to help your health? Because it's incentivized. It's an incentive. Let's keep going.
Rid of the profiteering, the dysfunction, and the incredible waste within the current healthcare system. If we get rid of the advertising, and the high-priced compensation packages of healthcare executives, we can save hundreds of billions of dollars each and every year. Medicare for All will also significantly reduce the rapidly escalating and outrageous cost of prescription drugs. Depending on income, an individual may pay a little bit more in taxes to finance Medicare for All, but
Which
they
I'm
will
fine
save
with.
thousands of dollars each and every year because they will no longer be paying insurance company premiums, deductibles, or co-payments.
Scott, you want to make a comment on that?
I'm fine with paying more in taxes if that means that everyone can be healthy and not go bankrupt if they get cancer.
So wait, you would pay more money
What
than
a
you're paying
trade-off.
now?
Yes.
Oh,
But I'd be saving money because then I'd actually go see a doctor.
wait, so you wouldn't be paying more than you're paying now?
In terms of net gains and losses, you would
Yeah.
be saving.
I meant as a
Save
household
money.
budget. I mean, you're not a single man. Even a single man like myself, if I was paying more in taxes, but I was given health insurance so I could go see a doctor, that doesn't sound like a horrible trade. But then when I consider the fact that if I was gonna go see a doctor on my own or with private insurance, I'd be paying exorbitantly more than my taxes net increased. I'm not even in the middle of the road anymore. I'm all for it.
Yeah, and it's simpler because let's think about it. You're not tied to your job based on your health care anymore.
Okay, that's
So
a
you
huge
can just focus on your
benefit.
job, and you don't have all that extra hassle.
That's a huge
You can just focus
psychological
on what job you
benefit.
wanna have.
Yeah, that's a huge psychological benefit for everybody who is sucked into the my job is responsible for my well-being.
It's
And that's a really good point that has to be hammered
a
home.
frustrating place to be stuck. And a lot of Americans feel that. A lot of those people in your employment rate that you're touting are stuck because they are sick and cannot change jobs.
Let's also point
They lose
out
their health insurance.
that the reason why you go insurance company shopping is to compare rates, correct? So what determines the rates? It can absolutely be the free market mentality. It's absolutely got to do with competition. But if you really look at what's really driving it, it's not competition. It's not the free market. It's how much the insurance pool money is. And because it's split into so many different things, you have a lot of different pools that aren't as full as a single pool. So if we had a single payer where everybody's paying into the same pool, everybody benefits off of the same pool, we are able to collectively lower costs. We did get a question from comments here. So question, who is eligible for the health care?
If it's Medicaid or Medicare for all, well, that would be anyone that is a citizen of the United States of America.
Yeah.
Over the age of 65.
I was going to say Medicare for all kind of sounds inclusive to me. Of all citizens. If it's an American program, it should be available for all American citizens. Now we can get back into the voter ID thing at another stream, but I think that it should absolutely be a guaranteed right for American citizens, considering that we have every ability to pay for it.
Yes.
I would save us money to do so.
If you're still here listening to us, my question to you in response would be, is there a reason why you wouldn't want someone to be eligible for healthcare as an American citizen? So I hope you respond to that. But let's finish up with Bernie here.
To the private, for-profit companies that now run our healthcare system. Today, under our current dysfunctional healthcare system, believe it or not, it costs more than $28,000 a year to provide health care to the typical family of four. $28,000 a year.
Now, we just had a comment in chat that said that St. Michael is paying $600+ a month for his health care. And makes $35K before overtime.
that's definitely above the poverty line. But it's not
5K.
It's not great.
600 a month? That's not good. Well, you're paying all your family's health insurance on you. It's not split. It's like not
No,
just you
wait.
alone.
We're getting more.
That.
We're getting comments back here. Let's address.
I don't
them
know.
here.
I'm not here to like scry. Sounds like you're paying a lot.
Dalton. Here we go. The problem are people who aren't registered as citizens or pay into the tax system. In order to pull that system off, you need to have a sense of who is here.
Yes, but to get
To
coverage,
pull
you
that
just need to
system off?
prove that you're a citizen of the United States, which is pretty easy at this point. We have a lot of forms of identification that we can use.
I don't know what you're
Social
talking about.
security
Pull
number,
that system off.
Oh, I think there's a
It's not all hinged upon voter ID.
I think that you're projecting on what I said earlier. I think or Lothane is trying to say that there needs to be a better way of identifying citizenship, which I would agree with Scott, though. We have a hell of a lot of identification methods, and I would really challenge someone trying to say to me that, that it's easy to falsify a lot of government documents. I mean, firstly, to drive, you need to get a state driver's license, which the state has discrimination on how well they vet you, but there's a lot of other ways too. I mean, you could ask for social security numbers. Like, there's a finite amount of social security numbers, right? I mean, theoretically. I'm not exactly an immigration expert, so I may not be the right person to be talking about this, but I would also I agree with your sentiment, though I think you're kind of overplaying it. Is that, yes, I agree that this system should affect only American citizens, but I don't think the immigration problem is as big as it's being played up to be. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that assessment?
I mean,
no, you're right.
You slip through here and there. I don't see it as that huge of an issue. Now, I still think that for healthcare, if it's an American-only thing, we have ways of determining if you're an American citizen.
And I would be.
We already do that.
I feel like I would be open to the discussion of how to standardize that or improve it without saying I need voter ID laws and things like that. I mean, I'm open to discussions and things like that. Again, that's the liberal in me being compromising.
What do we need voter IDs for? I don't get it.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying I don't agree with that policy. I'm saying that I would agree with wanting to be able to standardize citizenship. You know, like say like, okay, here's a real. You know, I don't know. I actually don't. I don't feel like the illegal voters, the illegal healthcare, the illegal welfare succubuses that are claimed to exist out there are in as big a numbers. But I'm not willing to take my assumption as facts, is my argument, and say that, okay, well, I actually am an advocate of saying that everybody should have a voting day off of work. It should be a paid day. Like, if you really value your citizens voting, it should either be a paid holiday, or it should be a goddamn weekend and a paid holiday. But
paid holiday.
I do have a hard 10 minutes just as a.
All right.
By the way.
Yeah,
that's good. We're gonna do a hard 10 minutes here, guys. But I would be okay with finding a more standard way of doing citizen IDs. Like, if there was if there was a way for you
freely
not to
provided national ID.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to say. Freely provided or compensated national IDs would be a real easy way. Well, because for people who can't get driver's license because they don't have a car, they see no reason to get a license. No state ID.
Why are we giving them something if they don't have a need for it?
They have a need. If we have a need to absolutely verify citizenship in a very, here's my ID, it's already been verified, you don't have to vet it, it's what it is, like a driver's license is.
Why?
There's no reason. Okay, because if I don't have a car, I don't have a driver's license, and I want to go vote in the 2018 elections, I can't. If I don't have a passport or a driver's license, I can't afford a passport because I'm poor, and I don't have a driver's license because I'm poor. So if I have a freely given national ID, I get to participate in my nation's elections, everything that my nation does. I see no reason to deny someone or to say that a national ID is bad. But I also don't think that any Joe Schmo should go up and be able to vote. Like, if they're not a citizen, that's a genuine concern.
But there's not any Joe Schmo just going up to vote. There's not voter fraud that we need to fix.
Not that, yeah, absolutely. We haven't seen any cases of voter fraud. I don't see any reason why I can't have a nationally given ID so that I can buy alcohol if I don't drive a car.
Nationally given out ID is this. Okay.
When I went to vote in the primaries this year, my address has changed in the last few months.
There you go.
And
there
I
you
have
go.
not registered at the new address. Do you know how hard it was for me to vote?
Yep, there you go.
And it had to be a special voting paper that had to be like super vetted by the state to make sure that it was legit.
But if we had a nationally verified ID, that could supersede that. If I had a national ID, I could have voted when I moved to Missouri. But because I moved to Missouri and didn't have a state and Missouri license, I had to drive all the way back to Nebraska to vote. And could I do that? No, because it would lose me 2 days of work.
Okay, but we don't have to do this whole national ID to fix this problem specifically. I'm
not trying to fix a problem. I'm saying this would just be a general benefit.
It's an answer to a question that we had.
Yes,
I know.
Finish the video.
All right.
Hold on. Like, okay, so there's a problem with giving out national IDs.
What is that problem?
That it's racist.
Okay, you're gonna have to go further on that.
Okay, well, if you want every citizen to specifically have an ID no matter what, why? At all times? So you can check everybody on Parson? This is where we start getting into, like, you know, checking people on the street for ID to make sure they're citizens, and immigration, like, harassing people based on the color of their skin. This is where it turns into. That's why people on the right wing push these voting laws so much. It's wrapped up in that.
But if it's guaranteed to every United States citizen, I don't see how it's.
Okay, well, here's the thing, Scott. If you have a photo ID driver's license with you, if you have a piece of mail showing your new address, you know, you should be able to vote in one spot and be done. You don't have to have this whole extra thing.
Well, you're not required to carry your ID unless you're driving. You're not required to. In my situation, you wouldn't be required to carry your ID unless you were voting.
So we'd give everybody an ID that they would only use to go to a booth once a year.
Why would you? Why would you want someone to victimize them on the street for it?
Well, usually when we're enacting licenses to everybody like that, that's what's going on.
I didn't say usually. I'm talking about a new program here. Okay. New possibilities. Like, I'm not saying required carrying of IDs. I'm not talking about putting a goddamn Star of David on every Jew.
Well, that's what is generally what we're talking about. We're talking about immigration laws, and we're talking about voting ID laws and things like that. That's where this goes. Is trying to figure out
to replace your state ID, be a national.
Because there's not actually a voting ID problem. The problem being fixed is illegal.
I don't know.
They're trying to fix illegal immigration with this ID a lot of times, with a lot of IDs just for that. That's what's going on. That's what it sounds like.
And what Scott and I are
going off on a tangent or hearing everything completely wrong. But when we talk about voting IDs, we're discriminating against people that should just be able to vote without the fucking driver's license anyway.
All right, here's where I absolutely disagree with you, Bud, is that Scott and I are not talking about voter ID laws. Scott and I are talking about nationally handed out IDs.
Guaranteed to every citizen.
For nothing.
For what?
For nothing.
For nothing.
For nothing.
Yeah.
Not costing any money to the people that are receiving.
And not for a specific purpose. Use it.
Right.
Use it as an ID. What I want
as a way to identify that you are in
citizen,
fact a United States citizen.
I want
something
easier.
That every citizen is guaranteed.
Yes, I want easier identification of citizenship is what I want, and the way that I see that occurring. Okay, is your picture on your Social Security card, or is your baby picture anywhere near it? No, because you're given your Social Security number as an infant. it's not. That's not a realistic solution. Actual renewal of IDs with current pictures is the only way to do that. And what infant needs a photo ID?
I'm not pushing for infant photo IDs.
No, you use photo IDs for different things. I'm not saying you have to, like, there should be state mandated carrying of identification. I'm saying that if you want a state fucking program, it should be easier to identify if you're a member of the state. It should just be easier to identify that so that these voter fraud scandals, these welfare scandals, these illegal immigrant scandals can be quelled a lot easier, because we have a huge vetting program for national IDs, things of this nature. Like, it's another avenue towards towards identifying citizenship, not towards victimizing people. That's obviously not the avenue that we're wanting to take. So there should be no requirement to carry ID. And we got a comment that you should always be able to identify yourself. Okay, go buy milk without an ID. See how hard it is.
Yeah, if you you should always have to identify yourself. I don't think so. I don't think that should be a requirement.
I don't see any problem with giving the option for everybody to have an ID, not a requirement for everybody to have an ID. And I don't want everybody to be required to have an ID. I want everybody to have the option.
Issuing everybody a license, it sounds like it's segueing into a requirement.
Well, if you want to play a slippery slope argument,
why don't you have it?
A requirement for the government.
If all the citizens have it, where's yours? You were given one if you were a citizen.
The state does not require me to carry it.
But I think we do need to quell the discussion, because I got about 2 minutes left. Let's go ahead and finish this up.
All right, let's go ahead and listen to this.
Costs will go down, not up, under a Medicare for All system. Here is the bottom line. If every major country on earth can guarantee health care to all and achieve better health care outcomes while spending substantially less per capita than we do, please do not tell me that the United States of America cannot do the same. Needless to say, there is huge opposition to this legislation from the powerful special interests that profit from the current wasteful healthcare system we have today. The insurance companies, the drug companies, Wall Street, and the Koch brothers are devoting a lot of money to lobbying, campaign contributions, and television ads to defeat this proposal. But they are on the wrong side of history. Guaranteeing health care as a right is important to the American people, not just from a moral and financial perspective. It also happens to be what the majority of the American people want. In the last poll that I saw, 63% of Americans now support moving to a Medicare for All system.
That's pretty low as far as I've heard.
The time is long overdue for the United States to join every other industrialized country and guarantee health care to all in a cost-effective manner. And that is what Medicare for All is about. Thank you.
We need that shit.
I mean, the numbers prove it out, so therefore it's obviously delegitimized.
Or wasting money not getting it.
Well, it benefits the few, so why would we stop?
That is kind of the point. That's how we do everything.
As for you folks who have joined us here on Distraction and Discussion, you can see that consensus is not a priority. Discussion is.
No.
We are here to learn, inform, and be informed, and we pride ourselves on keeping the discussion active. We are here every Thursday, minus exceptions, very rare of which.
We try
to be live and to interact with our audience, and we take it very seriously. We would like to do more structured things, and we're moving forward with those ideals. We would like to hear feedback from you as well on the off time, on what you'd like to see more of, how we can make improvements, and we'll absorb those comments and criticisms as such. and look forward to seeing you next week on Distraction and Discussion. Again, I have been Alex, and my co-hosts have been Scott and Dalton. Joining you.
And we do stream. We try to stream every week Thursdays, starting 7:30 p.m. Well, 7:45 p.m. Central Standard Time. It all depends on a few
minus setups,
but around there, sometime between 7:45 and 8 is when we usually Central Standard Time here in the heart of the Tornado Belt or Tornado Alley. That's what it is.
Midwest.
Exactly.
Tornado Alley. Kind of, yeah.
Thank
you guys very much for coming in. Love you.
Yes, thank you all. And every comment against or for, we appreciate and want more of. So please join us next week as we continue about.
Definitely like the chat.
Yeah, this has been more fun. I've had a hard time convincing myself that this is what I wanted to do was live, but had a great time and want to continue doing it. Again, from Distraction and Discussion, I have been Alex.
Scott.
Dalton.
And we will see you.
Do I do a 3?
Are you 3? You could be 1. You could do the outro if you want.
I don't have a plan. No, you started it. You're 1.
All right.
I don't know.
We will see you next week. If not before, hit us up. And remember, stay scientific, stay skeptical.